In a quiet town surrounded by green hills, a little boy named Leo lived with his grandmother in a cozy house with a big, wild backyard. Leo was a boy who noticed things. He noticed the way ants marched in a line, how the clouds changed shapes, and the particular sound each bird made. His favorite spot was the old oak tree by the fence, its branches low and wide, perfect for leaning against and daydreaming. He spent many afternoons there, watching the world go by, a small, still figure in a world of buzzing life. One blustery spring afternoon, a fierce wind shook the trees. After the storm passed, Leo went to check on his oak tree. Thought a euro strayed when he saw a tiny nest had fallen from a higher branch and lay on its side in the damp grass. It was a marvel of twigs, moss, and soft grass, but it was empty. Disappointed, he was about to walk away when he heard a sound. It wasn't a euro strayed a chirp, but a faint, scratchy peep. He knelt down and gently lifted a corner of the nest with a stick. There, nestled in the moss, was a single, tiny egg, no bigger than the tip of his thumb. Leo Eurostrade's heart beat fast. He knew he couldn't Eurostrade leave it there. He carefully scooped up the whole nest, holding it like the most precious treasure. He ran inside to show his grandmother. Abuela, Abuela, look, it fell from the tree. Can we save it? Abuela came over, wiping her hands on her apron. She looked at the egg, then at Leo Eurostrade's worried face. Ida Eurostrade's a risk, my vida, she said softly. But we can try. Together, they created a warm, safe place. Abuela found a small, shallow cardboard box and lined it with a soft cloth. They placed the nest inside. She showed Leo how to use a desk lamp, positioned at a safe distance, to keep the box warm, like the sun would have warmed it. Leo knew the chances were slim. He had learned in school that bird eggs need their parents to keep them warm. But he also knew he had to try. He named the egg Esperanza, which meant hope. For the next several days, he checked the lamp Eurostrade's warmth constantly, and every morning he would run to the box, his heart full of hope. On the fifth morning, Leo found the box exactly as he Eurostrade left it. His heart sank a little, but then he leaned closer. A tiny crack, thinner than a hair, ran across the middle of the egg. He held his breath and called for Abuela. They watched together in the quiet of the kitchen. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, the egg wiggled. Another tiny crack appeared. It was hard work. The small creature inside would peck and rest, for what felt like hours to Leo. Finally, a small piece of shell popped off, and a wet, wrinkly head emerged. It was a baby bird, with eyes tightly shut and a beak that seemed too big for its head. It was exhausted. Leo wanted to help, to peel the shell away, but Abuela gently put a hand on his shoulder. No, Leo, this is the fight it needs to win. It makes them strong. So they waited and watched as the tiny warrior, featherless and fragile, continued its struggle. By evening, the chick had freed itself, a crumpled, damp little thing that lay panting in the nest. Leo was now a father. He and Abuela became researchers. They learned their tiny patient was a house finch. They learned it needed to be fed every 15 to 20 minutes from dawn until dusk. Abuela mixed a special formula of soaked dog food, hard-boiled egg yolk, and water into a paste. Lilo became the feeder. Using a small, dull pair of tweezers, he Eurostrayed pick up a tiny bit of food and gently tap the chick Eurostrade's beak. Instantly, a huge, yellow-rimmed mouth would open wide, and he would carefully place the food inside. For weeks, Leah Eurostrade's life revolved around the box. He set an alarm for every feeding, even waking up before sunrise. He missed playing with his friends after school, rushing home instead to care for Esperanza. He watched in wonder as the chick grew. Pin feathers emerged, first as dark tubes, then unfurling into soft, gray down. The chick grew stronger. Its eyes opened bright and black, and it began to make small chirping sounds when Leo entered the room. It knew him. It wasn't Eurostrayed just a bird in a box anymore. It was Esperanza, his tiny, feathered friend. The day came when the box was too small. Esperanza would hop to the edge, flapping her now fully feathered wings. Leo knew what had to happen, but his heart ached at the thought. Abuela saw the look on his face. You didn't Eurostrade tea save her to keep her in a box forever, did you? She asked gently. Leo shook his head, a lump in his throat. They moved Esperanza to a large mesh laundry basket, where she could practice perching on a small branch Leo put inside. She would fly short distances, from the branch to the side of the basket, her confidence growing with each clumsy flight. The next step was the backyard. Leo set the basket outside on the picnic table. He opened the mesh top. For the first time, Esperanza saw the real sky, felt the real wind, and heard the calls of other house finches in the trees. She looked around, her head cocking, and then looked back at Leo. He sat with her for hours, day after day, letting her explore the table. She Eurostrayed D-hop onto his finger, chirp at him, and then flutter back to the basket. She was ready to leave, but she was also scared. One sunny morning, Leo took Esperanza to his special spot under the oak tree. He sat on the grass, and she perched on his finger, small and light. A flock of finches was chattering in the branches above. Esperanza looked up at them, her whole body alert. She looked back at Leo one last time, her black eyes seeming to hold all their shared history. Then, she spread her wings. Leo held his breath. With a final, encouraging chirp, she launched herself from his finger. She didn't Eurostrade tea fly high at first, but she flew straight and true. Landing on a low branch of the oak tree, she sat there for a moment, preening her feathers as if to compose herself. Then, with a burst of energy, she fluttered up to join the other finches, disappearing into the green leaves. Leo sat under the tree for a long time, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek. But it wasn't Eurostrade tea, the sad tear. It was a tear of goodbye, of pride, and of love. He had given Esperanza the greatest gift, not just her life, but her freedom. And in return, she had given him a gift too, the memory of a tiny warrior who had taught him about patience, care, and the brave, beautiful meaning of letting go.